Unlike technologies such as the light bulb or the telephone, the Internet has no single inventor. Instead, it has evolved over time. The Internet got its start in the United States more than 50 years ago in the Cold War. For years, scientists and researchers used it to communicate and share data with one another. Without Internet, today we use the Internet for almost everything, and for many people it would be impossible to imagine life without it. On October 4, 1957, the Soviet Union launched the world's first man-made satellite into orbit, Sputnik. Sputnik was proof of something alarming. While the scientists and engineers in the United States had been designing better television sets and bigger cars, it seemed the Soviets had been focusing on less frivolous things, and they were going to win the Cold War. After Sputnik's launch, many Americans began to think more seriously about science and technology. Scientists and military experts were especially concerned about what might happen in the event of a Soviet attack on the nation's telephone system. Just one missile could destroy the whole network. In 1962, a scientist from MIT and ARPA named J.C.R. Licklider proposed a solution to this problem: a galactic network of computers that could talk to one another. Such a network would enable government leaders to communicate, even if the Soviets destroyed the telephone system. In 1965, another MIT scientist developed a way of sending information from one computer to another that he called packet switching. Packet switching breaks data down into blocks, or packets, before sending it to its destination. That way, each packet can take its own route from place to place. Without packet switching, the government's computer network, now known as the ARPANET, would have been just as vulnerable to enemy attacks as the phone system. In 1969, ARPANET delivered its first message from one computer to another. The first computer was located in a research lab at UCLA, and the second was at Stanford. Each one was the size of a small house. The message, login, was short and simple, but it crashed the fledgling ARPA network anyway. The Stanford computer only received the note's first two letters. By the end of 1969, just 4 computers were connected to the ARPANET, but the network grew steadily during the 1970s. In 1971, it added the University of Hawaii's AlohaNet, and 2 years later, it added networks at London's University College and the Royal Radar Establishment in Norway. As packet-switched computer networks multiplied, however, it became more difficult for them to integrate into a single worldwide Internet. By the end of the 1970s, a computer scientist named Vincent Cerf had begun to solve this problem by developing a way for all of the computers on all of the world's mini-networks to communicate with one another. He called his invention Transmission Control Protocol, a TCP. Later, he added an additional protocol, known as Internet Protocol. The acronym we use to refer to these today is TCP/IP. Cerf's protocol is the handshake that introduces distant and different computers to each other in a virtual space. Cerf's protocol transformed the Internet into a worldwide network. Throughout the 1980s, researchers and scientists used it to send files and data from one computer to another. However, in 1991 the Internet changed again. That year, a computer programmer in Switzerland named Tim Berners-Lee introduced the World Wide Web, an Internet that was not simply a way to send files from one place to another, but was itself a web of information that anyone on the Internet could retrieve. Berners-Lee created the Internet that we know today.
Ďakujem svojej kolegyni z Google Translate za pomoc pri práci.